All right. Welcome to episode 7 of Midlife Unleashed. This is an exciting episode about meal prep and meal prepping my way, practical nutrition for busy lives. I know I'm very excited to learn a little bit more about this. So today's episode is for everyone who's busy, stressed, and wondering, how am I supposed to eat healthy with everything I have going on? I know I think that way. I'm sure a lot of our listeners think that way. But Doug, you got us covered, right? We're talking about real world meal.
I got you. I
We're not
got you.
talking
We're
about
all in midlife.
Instagram.
We're running a busy life. And, we need to make sure that we got some sort of structure to our eating. And
Exactly.
that's where, the meal prep kind of comes in. So I'm going to try to give them some tips, try to show them how to make it easy while being nutritious and manageable. That's how I do it.
Yep. Awesome. We're talking real world meal prep. We're not talking Instagram, Pinterest version. We want the real life version of
Okay.
meal prep and advice today. So I know, Doug, you've worked with so many people. Why do you think that traditional meal prep advice just doesn't particularly work for most people?
Because most people are following bodybuilder meal prep. Right? And they're busy people, they're professionals, they're parents, they're caregivers, and that bodybuilding mindset or that bodybuilding lifestyle is totally contradictory to what they're doing. So they've got a system that's geared towards somebody who's going to get on the stage in the smallest amount of clothing possible, right? Under lights and be judged. And because bodybuilders actually do that, and I can tell you, I did a bodybuilding competition when I was in college. That's where I first learned about it. And then when I started training almost 10 years later, my first um, uh, clients were female bodybuilders and a female figure competitors. And so they had to do these 21 meals all proportioned out like you see on Instagram with the right amount of macros in each and frozen because they couldn't take the risk of eating too many calories or eating too much fat or missing a meal. And so that became what was kind of indoctrinated into today's form of meal prep. And it's just not realistic. It's kind of against people's souls. Because if I'm not a bodybuilder, then why would I eat like that? And they don't realize that they're trying to follow this really, really rigid system and it's not working for them. And because it's not working for them, and because they don't want to eat the same meals over and over again, and because it tastes really not appetizing come middle of the week, they just kind of give up and go for something more fast, more convenient, which is typically less healthy. But that's the biggest problem that I see out there is that people are following the wrong system. It's not a system that's for them. Now, if you're a bodybuilder, if you're a competitor and you're going to get on the stage and do all that stuff, well then, you gotta go by the Instagram 21 meal carved out stuff, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And what do you think is like the biggest myth or mistake that you see when it comes to how people approach meal prepping?
Yeah, and you know what? That's probably it. That they need to have this perfect setup, right? That they need to take time on Sunday, hours, and they need to set up breakfast, lunch, and dinner and two snacks. And it needs to be perfect and it needs to be ideal. And that's the only way that they think that they can eat to lose weight or that they can maintain their health through meal prep given their busy lives. And that just isn't realistic, but that's the myth because that's what you see out there, right? No one's on Instagram saying, well, you can go to your favorite restaurant and you can eat a healthy meal there. Everyone's saying you got to do this, you got to do this, and you got to do that. And so the biggest myth is that the way that they're doing it, is just flawed and that you can still meal prep without creating 21 or 15 meals, and then eating that stuff all week.
So I don't have to give up 5 hours on my Sunday to make 21 perfect meals and eat ground turkey and get sick of it by by
Not at
Tuesday night.
all. Not at all. Right. I mean, and I used to do that. As I said, my first, geez, I can't think of the word. My first clients were
Bodybuilding.
female bodybuilders, right? And figure competitors. So, I was telling them they needed to do it. I was following it myself, so I know what it's like to eat that dried chicken on Wednesday. And so what people are thinking is they have to do that. And because they're thinking that that's the way it has to be done, they're kind of psyching themselves out before they even do it.
Absolutely. And how do you teach your clients to think about meal prep in a way that's more sustainable and not overwhelming?
Yeah, so it's about strategy, right? Not stress. So it should be about strategy, not stress, right? So
Doug, how do you teach your clients to think about meal prep in a way that's sustainable and not overwhelming?
yeah, so I teach them about strategy, not stress, right? So what you need to have is a strategy for your meal planning, and and what I mean by not stress is the stress is trying to fit into that plan that you got to have 21 meals and do it all on Sunday and all that, right? Because that's stress, right? So you need to have a strategy. Think about, and that's a mindset shift, right? Because really you don't need to prep meals. You can just prep components, right? So I can prep a couple proteins. I can prep a couple of starchy carbs, some rice, some quinoa, and I can prep some veggies. And between that, I can mix and match and probably make up at least 6, 8 lunches and dinners. And it's flexible, right? If I use different sauces and different spices, then, I've got different meals, that variety's there for me. So that's the first thing. That's the first thing that I think. And I think if people do that, that'll go a long way. And then here's the other thing about meal prep that you need to understand. It doesn't have to happen in your house. You don't have to be the one doing all the meal prep, right? Can you grab some healthy meals at that same grocery store when you're shopping? Of course you can, right? Because every grocery store makes meals. So you can just grab a couple meals and that can be part of your meal prep, right? Or maybe on midweek, you can just stop at the grocery store and pick up a rotisserie chicken. And that can give you a couple days worth of proteins, to go along with some of the other things that you've got going on. Or maybe you want to do some pre-made meals from a delivery service a couple days of the week also. But you don't get bonus points, right, by doing it the hard way. And there's some easier things that you can strategize based on your life that will allow you to actually make this so much easier than doing the whole 21 meal 5 hour prep thing. And just remember, meal prep is another way of saying I have a plan. That's what meal prep means. It means I got a plan. All right. So there's a bunch of different ways that you can do it, but you got to strategize. And if strategizing means on Wednesday, I go to the deli around the corner from work because I'm busy and I like the food there and they've got a great salad that's healthy, then that's part of your meal plan. And that's fine. And that's fine.
Definitely will take, I feel like, a lot of the overwhelming stress out of it as long as you have your plan versus this exact thing that you see online that you have to follow. I can see how that definitely does alleviate a lot of stress and sounds a lot more sustainable.
Yeah,
As
because the you want it to work with your lifestyle.
Exactly. And that's the way it will be sustainable. Because even if you were to take that week and that Sunday and those 5 hours and put all that time into it, and maybe you feel like you succeeded that week, how sustainable is that moving forward?
Sure.
And that
Sure.
leaves
Sure.
room to feel like you're failing if you don't dedicate the
I'll
next
do it.
Sunday to that. So
Right, right.
finding
And
these little
Sunday,
things.
the summer's coming, right? Summer's
Right.
coming. So what happens when you go away for the weekend? What
Exactly.
happens, like you're coming home Sunday, you're going to work on Monday. What happens? You know, so that just may not be realistic. And you just got to strategize. How am I going to get myself meals and healthy, nutritious food when I'm tired, when I'm stressed, or whatever the situation may be?
Strategy, not stress. Always coming through with the quotable quotes over here, Doug.
Thank you.
And I know someone listening today, one of our listeners right now probably feels overwhelmed and they want to start eating better, but don't exactly know where to begin. What are 2 or 3 simple steps that you would recommend them take this week to get moving and start this meal prepping process?
Start small. Don't try to do the 21 meals. Don't try to do the perfect meals and all that. Don't even look at it that way. So if I was them, I would start small. I would start with one meal. And I would prepare that meal for the week. So if lunch is your thing, if that's your struggle, then I would do lunch, right? And I would make sure that I made something that was easy. I would make sure I made something that was doable, and I would make sure that I had something that I enjoyed, and then focus on that. And so that every day you've got a planned lunch. And again, you don't have to make it, but if you can make it, good. That's great. But I would just focus on one meal. Don't go nuts. Don't go crazy. Once you get the lunch thing down, then hey, let's start to move on to some of the other options. Second thing I would probably do is I would grab some prepared healthy meals, right? I wouldn't put it all on myself to make sure that I had every single thing done. So I would identify, or while I'm in the grocery store, I would pick up some prepared meals that were healthy so I could fit them in. And then with the whole grocery shopping, I would stick to the staples. Just stick to the staples, right? Get you two decent proteins, get you 2 different starchy carbs, get you 2 veggies, maybe grab some fruit, eggs, done, right? And then mix and match with that, because typically if you do that right, you can get bowls out of that, you can get wraps out of that, you can get salads out of that. And so those are probably like the 3 things I would do. I would just find one area, I would zone in, I would focus on that, I would get that right before I added anything else. I would use some prepared foods just to make it easy for me, right? So I can kind of dumb it down or outsource the cooking to someone else. And then I would get some staple foods, make some staple items, prepare them, put them on the shelf, mix and match. And, like, you're going to be good. Just that alone, you're going to be great. You're going to be in a good situation.
Yeah, speaking of staple foods, I think that that's definitely a good point. And if you had, speaking about staple foods, if you had to tell someone to prep just 3 foods that would totally set up their week, what would you pick?
3 foods? That's a tough one. That's
Right.
a tough one. You can eat 3 foods. All right. So the first thing that I would do is you got to have a healthy protein, right? That's your anchor of your meal. So you got to have a healthy protein. So I would say, make a choice: grilled chicken, rotisserie chicken, or some ground beef, or lean beef. So pick one of those. Any of those would give you some variety and some options. I would then go to the veggies. If it's the veggies, I would say go with the roasted. Do some roasted veggies. So you got some broccoli, you got some peppers, you got some onions, and I would just roast all them suckers at once so that you got roasted vegetables kind of throughout. And then you need something to sustain you, something for some energy. So you need a starchy carb. And I'd probably go with the quinoa because it's flexible, right? And just with those 3 foods, right? You got meals, you got bowls, you can add a wrap to that and you're good. You can make that over a salad. If you got some eggs, you got breakfast now. You can do a veggie omelet. You can do an omelet with some quinoa. Like, you got a lot of flexibility just with 3 items. Just make sure when you cook them, you use different spices and use different sauces, because no one wants to eat the same flavor all the time. But if you're grilling chicken, then grill some of it with some barbecue sauce, grill some of it with some jerk sauce on it. So just by doing that, just those 3 items, you're good.
So flexibility, lots of variations possible, but just those 3 things, staple ingredients to kind of get you through the week. I really like that. I think I'm going to incorporate that in my week.
Yeah, well,
Um,
I mean, the key is it has to be convenient because what's convenient you'll do, right? And in terms of food, it just can't be boring. Like we can eat boring food now and then, but boring food doesn't work for anybody. Our taste buds are just, play too much of a part of our life, especially at midlife, right? Back when I was training those bodybuilders, it was okay to eat that dry stuff, right? Don't even put it in front of me now. There's no way I would eat it because I'm at a different place, right? Right. And I value the food and the taste of the food and enjoy it much more than I did my waistline, I guess, back then.
exactly. And if you don't want boring food for one meal, you're not going to want it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Mm-mm,
So
mm-mm.
definitely have to find ways to switch it up. And
Sure.
if you had to say, like, what are some of your favorite go-to meals that are fast and healthy and realistic for a busy midlife life?
First go to, which I always go to this, cause it's easy and it's tasty, is avocado toast with, crab meat on it, lump crab meat. And I've done videos on this one because this meal you can literally make in 5 minutes and you can have it for breakfast, lunch, dinner, or snack. And you can do a variety of different flavors. So I always use a nice piece of toast. I use the Ezekiel bread toast. I use the raisin Ezekiel bread to get the kind of sweetness to it. And then I use guacamole instead of avocado because I think it just tastes better. And then I spice up the crab meat and stir fry it. Boom. I mean, literally, that takes 5 minutes. And that can be one piece is a snack or, breakfast maybe. Or if I'm not very hungry, it could be lunch. If I'm really hungry, two pieces, dinner, I'm done. So that's like an easy go-to. Another easy go-to is the rotisserie chicken, man. That rotisserie chicken, it can go on anything, you know, bowl, wrap, salad, and it even tastes good cold.
Who doesn't like
So when you're really
rotisserie
hungry,
chicken?
you can just go in. I just go in and just eat it. So that's another one. Breakfast for dinner. That's another fast. Everyone knows breakfast is a fast cook. No one's cooking long 30, 40 minute breakfasts. Breakfast take 5, 10 minutes. So I'll do breakfast for dinner. Tacos is another one, right? Some lean ground turkey, lean ground beef. You get the taco mix. You got lettuce, salsa, avocado, done, right? So that's another really, really quick one. Wraps are really quick. You can throw some turkey, spinach, cheese, little mustard, done, you know? And then, the other thing I really like to do for quick meals is stir fry. I was like on a kick a couple summers ago on the stir fry, but I love them because you can buy the package in the grocery store. It's got all these vegetables, which no way you would cut up all those vegetables, and you can stir fry it in the pan with a little bit of oil. The key is that sauce that they give you, you can't use it all. You got to use like half of it. There's too much sodium, too much sugar. So you just put half of that in and then boom, add whatever protein. You want shrimp? Boom, stir fry the shrimp. You want some pan-seared chicken? It really doesn't matter what you mix with it, but it's done in 10 minutes. And that's like 5 meals that you can do in 5 to 10 minutes, you know? And then when you got time during the week, well, then, make yourself a nice, filet and a few other things, and that works.
And this all sounds really good. So it doesn't sound like you really even have to give up food that tastes good and food that you like to sacrifice. You
No.
don't really have to sacrifice that much to have a good, healthy meal prep and good nutrition. Just maybe it definitely, like you said, like a mindset change. Like think about it a little bit more intentionally because this all sounds really good and pretty easy. And who doesn't love tacos and rotisserie chicken and
Sure.
guacamole and avocado toast? Because these are like some of my favorite foods. So
Yeah, yeah. No, they're healthy. They taste good, and I mean, it's not like a lasagna dinner, right? Right. That's going to take some time, but I'd rather go out and eat that and save the quick and easy things, for that I can do at home for myself.
the quick and easy things, actually, if you think about it, sound like the healthier options too. Like, for example, lasagna, that's what takes a long time and that's what may not be the healthiest dinner choice. So it sounds like the healthy options, if you really take a second to think about it, it's easier and it's faster. So
Yeah, well, and they have less ingredients, less items. They're like three, four
straight
things.
protein and veggies and carbs.
Sure.
And I know you mentioned stir fry and having those veggies chopped up, which is a super smart thing to buy. But beyond that, are there any kitchen tools or shortcuts or maybe different store-bought items you love that save time without having to sacrifice the nutrition?
Yeah, well, there's the Vitamix. Excuse me. There's the Vitamix, which I love. And that's like, I don't use it for soups, and you can make ice cream and all this stuff in there. I just use it to make my shake, right? But the one thing it allows me to do, since it, grinds things up so fine and so smooth, is I can get extra veggies in there. So I can put beets in there. I'll put avocado in my protein shake. I'll put the spinach in there, but everything gets, ground up so nice that it's a really healthy meal, because I got protein, carbs, and fat in there. It's not just a protein shake, and it tastes good. So the Vitamix is on the counter. It gets used almost every day. And then you got the air fryer, right? And
My
I
air
think
fryer.
everyone's got one of them, right? Right? It's fast, it's clean, gives a nice good texture to the food. It tastes good. So, and you can do just about anything in there. Right. And so the air fryer is another one. I haven't ventured into the crock pot, but I know a lot of my clients, knock out that crock pot chicken or crock pot, whatever, some chili, and they get that thing done, and it's easy. And once you get it started, it's pretty much done. And then you've got some go-to items, but I haven't used that, but that's one that, eventually I think I'm going to make my way to, and then in terms of the foods, the convenient stuff, it's, again, it's that rotisserie chicken. And the other thing I would say is frozen vegetables. Like when I know I'm going to cook that night or cook within the next night, I'll buy fresh vegetables. Otherwise, I like the frozen ones. They're cut, they're clean, and they last forever. Right? You put them in the freezer, you can use them in 2 weeks. You can use it in a week, So I think that that's a go-to, an easy one. And then you got to have a can of tuna in the cabinet also. Right. So you get too hungry and there's nothing in the house, you can always just resort to the tuna.
There you go. Can't go wrong with tuna. I know frozen veggies are a staple in my freezer. I always have those. And
Are they?
I throw frozen veggies and quinoa in my rice cooker and I just leave it there and it's done. And that between that and my air fryer, I don't think I would survive. Those
Yeah.
are two
Yeah.
staples.
No, those are great options. Those are great options and easy. I mean, the thing is, we have to get away from the mindset, especially at midlife. If like we're buying into the whole all day Sunday, 7 day meal prep, I mean, it's just not realistic. But what I find is a lot of people in midlife are doing anything, and that's not good either. Right? We can't be on either end of the spectrum. We got to find this happy medium. And that's how I've kind of taught my clients and work with myself to make sure that I'm getting healthy nutrients and I'm not spending a lot of time, because I just don't want to spend a lot of time.
The time would feel like a chore. So
Yeah.
what's like one thing that, and I know that one thing you do always talk about is systems over willpower, or even like you said earlier, strategies, not stress. So
Mhm.
what mindset shift do people need to make about food prep so it stops feeling like a chore?
Yeah. So number one, they gotta stop relying on motivation, because the motivation just doesn't work. All right. So if you need to get motivated to go cook all that food on Sunday for 4 or 5 hours, you're not going to feel like it sometimes, and you're not going to do it. And so for me, it's all about systems. Systems make things happen, right? Systems is how the world is run. And so you need to come up with a systematic process for food prep. And then that way it's just what you do. You're not thinking about it. It's just like brushing your teeth. And that systematic process doesn't have to be 4 hours. It just has to be an hour, and it can be an hour during the weekend, or it can be an hour even during the week when it's light for you. But you got to have a systematic process or approach to how you're going to make sure you're getting quality nutrients on a consistent basis during the week when you're the most busiest, right? Because the other thing about that whole thing is you got to start looking at, in terms of mind shift, you got to start thinking about it more as meal prep is a form of self-respect. And what I mean by that is you're looking out for the you that's going to come home Tuesday hungry, tired, and exhausted. And so when you're fresh on Saturday or on Sunday, you're just looking out for you later on in the week. And that's a great way to actually look at it, because when I think about it that way, and I know that I'm going to be there, and I want to show me some love and prep up for me, because I know I'm going to need it. Right. The other mind shift I think people have to make in terms of meal prep is realizing that, again, you don't have to do it all. Not today. You don't have to do it all. Right. The grocery store can do some of it for you. Right? Maybe you got a meal service that's sending you 6, 7 meals a week, you know, or maybe it's that your meal planning includes you going to a restaurant. I do that all the time, right? It doesn't mean I'm going to the restaurant and asking for the menu and going to go through and do all this stuff. No, it means that I'm going to eat. For example, I go to a restaurant that I love their roasted chicken. They give you a half a chicken and all this broccoli and mashed potatoes. I usually just go with the broccoli, not the mashed potatoes. And I'll go there and I already know what I'm ordering. And I'll eat half of that. And then the other half is lunch. That's 2 meals and meal prep that I've just taken care of. And I'll just say on Sunday, oh, on this day, I'm going to be, that's my late day. I'm going to be doing this. I'm going to go there and that's what I'm going to order. Boom, 2 meals done. So
Exactly.
stop thinking of meal prep as something that has to be done in your kitchen by you. It really doesn't. I mean, it doesn't. Local restaurants, if you know how to eat properly and if you know how to order properly, can serve that role for you, as well as the meal prep services, as well as, like I said, the grocery stores are making, healthy portion size meals now too.
Absolutely. And I know, even kind of speaking on that topic, a lot of people tend to beat themselves up if they don't eat quote unquote perfectly all week, right? So what's your advice for dealing with food guilt?
Food guilt. Stop it. Stop it. Right. All right. Because here's the deal. The goal of meal prep is not perfection. It's just planning and preparation. Right. And so if you happen to not do the meal prep or not follow it, like, there's no need to feel guilty about it. Right. Guilty doesn't help you live healthy. Habits help you live healthy. So the first thing I would do is just shake that one off. Right. But the thing I like to work with clients on is what happens next. Right. Okay, cool. You ate the pizza on Tuesday. What happened next? Like, did you go for a walk after you ate? Did you drink some water? Right? Did you make a healthy breakfast the next day? Did you plan on working out, maybe doing a little bit of extra because of the additional calories that you consume? Like I wouldn't so much focus on the act just yet. I'm going to get to that in a minute. I would focus on what do you do next after that? Right. So let the guilt go. The guilt doesn't do anything. Like I'm not a fan of that. And, I've gone off meal plans all the time, dessert, this, that, the other, whatever. It's what you do next that really matters, right? That tells a lot. So you fell off the bike. Did you get up? Did you get back on it? Did you start riding? Okay, cool. Then we're back on, Now, the other thing that happens that people don't do, and this really, really, really is so important, is you have to figure out what happened. And they don't take that step. So, okay, cool. I went off the rails. I had this pizza on Tuesday. Why did it happen? Did it happen because I didn't plan? Did it happen because I was stressed? Did it happen because I was starving? Like, what was the reason why I couldn't adhere to what I said I was going to do? And if you go in there, you'll find golden nuggets that will help you, right? Because you can't just keep missing time after time after time after time. No, that's what that is a bad habit. Right? So you got to look in it and you got to say, like, hey, why am I doing that? And what can I change to kind of help me fix this? Right? And I remember I've had that conversation with me. I teach on Wednesdays. I've been teaching on Wednesdays nights for like 20 years. And after I would teach, no one, I'm getting out at 9 o'clock at night. I don't want to cook any food. So I would just go to a restaurant and eat. And I would have intentions of eating something light. I'm gonna go with a salad with some grilled chicken on it, something light. And then I would get to the restaurant and lo and behold, I would eat something completely different. And it would have a lot more fat than I should have. And then maybe I'd had some cocktails. And this is like the middle of the week. We're not even on the weekend. Right. And so I'm consuming all these calories. And I had to say to myself, like, hey, why does that keep happening? So I could fix it. And what I realized was, I was hungry because I was standing on my feet for a couple hours. I was excited because that's how I get when I teach, if you can't tell when I'm talking. And my adrenaline was flowing, right? And so that's not an environment to go out to a restaurant in, right? That's like going to the grocery store hungry, right? You're not supposed to do that either. So I go into the restaurant and I became the yes man. Like, oh, man, do you want to see our specials? Sure. Oh, well, yeah, oh, we got this and, you want to try, oh my God, that looks good. And I'm making decisions based on the hunger and the adrenaline and the excitement. And what I realized was that wasn't a good environment for me to be going to that particular restaurant or to be going out to eat, period. And so what I did was I just pick up my food before class. Went to a sushi restaurant, got some sushi, sashimi, seaweed salad, boom, that's what I'm eating. So whatever I decided to eat, that decision was made before class. Or I just came straight home and ate whatever was in the refrigerator. And so those are the type of questions you got to start asking yourself, like, why is it that I go off the rails? And once you start to analyze it and start to keep stepping it back, you're going to find out exactly why. And then you just got to do something to adjust it. You might not get it right the first time, but you still got to do something. But continuing to fall off the rails, that's a habit. That's a habit. And you got some work to do. And so just do the work. Just do the work.
Smart. It's like you said earlier, it's like basically taking care of yourself in advance in a way.
Yeah. And that's, and for me, that's the buy-in that gets me mentally prepared, right? And ready to actually spend the time to do it, because I kind of know what's coming my way during the week. And everybody does. Everybody knows whatever day is going to look like for them, and they know how it is. And so, you want to make sure that you've got the best odds of making the healthy choices at that time. And if you
Be a
set
little
yourself up for that,
prepared.
you're going to make the choice more chances than not.
Right. And be prepared for what you can prepare for, because things come up and that will like build bad habits. If today something unexpected happened and I'm hungry, I'm going to grab something. If you're prepared and you have things at home, or you went to the restaurant beforehand, you're already prepared in advance. So that's definitely like a good thing. I think I'm going to take that into consideration. Make sure I have food ahead of time before you go exactly and teach or podcast or whatever it is, or you have this adrenaline running. It is so easy to just make different on the fly decisions, for sure.
Yeah. Oh, it's hard to come down after that, right? Right. You get all worked up and you're like, yeah, 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 yeah. And you just used a lot of calories and energy and you want to replenish it. And so, carbs seem like a natural way to do it. Right. And so, so the key is it's just having a plan and being flexible, but if you're thinking strategy, when you go to do your meal planning and meal prep, then you're gonna be golden. You'll be golden.
About this topic, I know cheat meals are something that's talked about a lot. People throw out the term cheat meals all the time, right? But
Yep.
do you believe in cheat meals? And if you don't, what's a better way to think about them?
Yeah, I almost despise when people use that because, first of all, what is a cheat meal and what are you cheating? Right? And I'm going to tell you exactly where the cheat meals came from. Where do you think they came from? That term.
Assume the perfect, picture perfect 25 meals on Sunday of ground beef for 5 days in a row.
Yep. And where did that come from? That came from the
Instagram.
bodybuilders.
Yeah.
And that's exactly where that cheat meal concept comes from. And we used to actually build cheat meals into our trainers for the clients that I was training, because they would need to be able to replenish that energy after eating the same thing so many times and so on and so forth. They needed that cheat meal. But most of these people aren't bodybuilding and they're talking about a cheat meal. It's like you're just eating food and it's just not the healthiest food. That's what you had. And we don't care. Enjoy it. I eat bad food sometimes. It's not a cheat meal. I don't know what I'm cheating, right? Now, if I'm getting on a stage and stripping down and getting judged, well, that's a different story. But all someone did is eat some pizza or eat their mom's lasagna, or I don't know, eat something that we've deemed to be unhealthy. I think it's okay to eat unhealthy stuff now and then. It can't be your go-to, but you surely can enjoy that from time to time without feeling any kind of guilt or like you're cheating. I mean, it's just nuts. But that's where that term came from. It's the same way place the meal prep came from. So I say if you want to eat something and it's in your mind and you gotta, you want to eat it, then just eat it. It's all about what you do next.
And balance, a little bit of balance. You could have some
Sure,
lasagna if the rest of the week you're
sure, sure, sure.
pre-planning your
And maybe
meal.
one piece is enough. You don't have to eat two, right? Maybe you need to eat some salad with that.
There you go. Balance. Balance in the week, balance in the meal, balance everywhere.
It's all good, but I'm not a huge fan of that word, because I know where it comes from, and people aren't following something that they need to cheat on. It's just some unhealthy food, and I just say eat it. I do. I just make sure that it's, a small percentage of what I eat overall.
Makes a lot of sense. Just have it. Just don't indulge every single day. Limit yourself. Make sure the rest of the week you're thinking out what you're going to eat beforehand. You gave us a lot of good tips and tricks and recommendations today in terms of things to buy at the grocery store to help, things you can buy at restaurants. It's not all on you. I definitely think that this was beneficial. I'm sure our listeners are taking notes and going to
Hope so.
incorporate this today. I know I will be incorporating a lot of this today. It makes so much more sense if you think about it. Like, yeah, I can just go to the grocery store and buy these things. I don't have to give up my Sunday afternoon to make food that I probably won't want the day after tomorrow anyway. So
It ain't making it to Thursday. I can tell you that right now. It's not making it to Thursday. I've been there too many times looking at it like I don't want this, you know. So yeah. So no, that's all. Think strategy. Just strategize it. What you need is, typically 20 meals and maybe some snacks. And so
mixing and
how am I
matching.
going to get those? Right? How am I going to get those? I mean, and you don't have to be a chef or a part-time chef on Sunday, and you don't have to blow up half your day to get there so that you can be healthy and take care of yourself for the rest of the week.
Thank you, Doug, for talking to us and teaching us all about how to really real world meal prep, not just following bodybuilders and influencers on Instagram and Pinterest. So, thank you again. And this was a great episode of Midlife Unleashed. And I will talk to you next week.